Autumn of 1936, the majestic Rainham Hall in Norfolk, England. Two photographers from Country Life magazine, Captain Hubert Provand and his assistant Indre Shira, are setting up their camera to capture the estate's famous staircase. Provand adjusts the focus when suddenly Shira freezes. "Quick, quick, there's something here," he shouts. On the staircase, a ghostly veiled figure begins to descend slowly. Provand takes the shot, even though he himself sees nothing. Later, as the film is developed, they are stunned. The photo reveals the silhouette of a woman in brown, a perfect match for the legend of the Brown Lady. Provand even lost a bet to Shira that the ghost would appear. Published on December 16, 1936 in Country Life, this image shook the world, becoming one of the most famous ghost photographs in history, a sensation. People argued, believed, feared, and when I first saw that picture as a child, I couldn't look away, chills down my spine, as if she were staring right at me.
But who is the Brown Lady? Let's dive deeper. The legend traces back to the 18th century. Lady Dorothy Walpole, born in 1686, was the wife of Viscount Charles Townshend. Rumor has it that after accusations of infidelity, her husband locked her in a room at Rainham Hall. Officially, she died and was buried in 1726, but whispers claimed her death was staged, that Dorothy languished in confinement and died later. Her ghost, in a brown dress, like the one in the portrait hanging in the house, became part of Norfolk folklore. And she wasn't said to appear only there. Supposedly, she was even seen at Houghton Hall, the Walpole's ancestral home, 600 years before the events.
The first encounters? Oh, they're chilling. In the early 19th century, King George IV, while staying at Rainham Hall, saw a woman in a brown dress standing by his bed. He was so terrified that he fled the estate in the middle of the night. In 1835, during Christmas festivities, Colonel Loftus described a lady in a brown satin gown with a pale face and hollow eye sockets. She walked straight through a wall. And Captain Frederick Marryat? He decided to confront the ghost head-on, armed with a pistol. When he saw her carrying a lantern, wearing a devilish grin, he fired, but the bullet passed right through her and lodged in the door. This only deepened the mystery. Up until 1936, sightings of the Brown Lady were frequent, sometimes witnessed by entire families. Imagine sitting at dinner with your loved ones, and she slowly descends the staircase. Experts examined the photo inside and out. No signs of fakery, editing, or double exposure. If it's a hoax, it's a brilliant one. Paranormal investigators have tried to debunk it, but the image still sparks debate. Even today, in 2025, Rainham Hall remains a magnet for ghost-seeking tourists, and the photo ranks among the most famous ghostly captures, inspiring podcasts and blogs. I visited a couple of years ago myself. The silence in the hall is crushing, and it feels as if she might appear at any moment. If this story gripped you the way it did me, hit the like button and drop a comment. Do you believe in ghosts? Subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. But wait, what if the photo wasn't just chance? In the next part, we'll explore whether it could have been a trick or a genuine paranormal phenomenon. Now that we've looked at the famous 1936 photograph where Captain Hubert Provand and Indre Shira captured, by accident or maybe not, the figure on the staircase of Rainham Hall, let's dive into the roots of the legend. Who is this mysterious brown lady whose ghost in a brown dress, just like the portrait hanging in the estate, has terrified people for centuries? I've always believed behind every ghost lies a real story of pain and secrets. And here it is, Lady Dorothy Walpole, born in 1686 at her ancestral home of Houghton Hall, sister to Robert Walpole, Britain's first Prime Minister. Picture her,
a beautiful, headstrong woman from a noble family whose life unraveled into tragedy through love and betrayal. Dorothy married Viscount Charles Townshend at her family's urging, but rumor has it that before the wedding, she was the mistress of Lord Wharton. Scandalous. Later, according to one version, her husband discovered her infidelity and locked her away in a room at Raynham Hall. Officially, she died of smallpox in 1626 and was buried, but whispers in Norfolk claimed her death was staged, that Dorothy languished in confinement for years, dying slowly of hunger or despair. Her spirit, filled with resentment toward her kin, could never find peace, which is why she wanders the corridors, sometimes even appearing at Houghton Hall, centuries before the events. When I first read about this, I felt a chill. Imagine yourself in her place, imprisoned in a gilded cage where every single day is torment.
But the first encounters with her ghost, they began in the early 19th century. King George IV saw a woman in a brown dress by his bed and, panicked, fled the estate in the middle of the night. Then, in 1835, during the Christmas holidays, Colonel Loftus described a lady in a brown satin gown with a pale face and hollow eyes. She passed right through him like smoke. Microhook, what if she's seeking justice? Captain Frederick Marryat decided to hunt the ghost at night. He saw her carrying a lantern with a devilish grin, fired his pistol, but the bullet passed right through her and lodged in the door. This only deepened the mystery. Up until 1936, the Brown Lady was seen regularly, sometimes by entire families. Imagine a dinner interrupted by her footsteps descending the staircase. And in 1855, another chilling story occurred. A group of young people staged a night hunt, cornering the ghost, but she merely vanished mockingly, leaving them terrified. The legend became part of Norfolk folklore, independent of the photograph. Paranormal investigators tried to debunk it, but no proof of its reality exists, only debate. Even today, in 2025, Raynham Hall draws mystics, though it remains private, with rare tours for the brave. Dorothy's tragic fate moves me, a headstrong lady whose spirit seeks revenge for injustice. If you feel the same, like this and share your ghost stories in the comments. Now let's move on to the examination. Was the photo a hoax or a genuine phenomenon? We'll review the evidence in the next segment.
Now that we've explored the tragic life of Lady Dorothy Walpole, the very woman whose spirit, full of anger and resentment toward her relatives, is said never to find rest, let's talk about how she returned to the living. The Brown Lady didn't wait until 1936 and that famous Provand and Shira photograph to frighten people. Her appearances began much earlier, in the early 19th century, and became part of Norfolk folklore, where whispers of the lady in the brown dress, just like the portrait in Raynham Hall, were passed down from generation to generation. I've always imagined, what if this isn't just a legend, but an echo of real pain? Before the ghost was ever photographed, she was seen regularly, sometimes by entire families. Picture yourself in the hall with your loved ones when suddenly footsteps echo down the staircase.
The first shocking encounter? King George IV. In the early 19th century, while staying at Raynham Hall, he saw a woman in a brown dress by his bed, pale with hollow eyes. The king, this hardened monarch, was so terrified that he jumped up and fled the estate in the middle of the night, muttering, "I've seen a ghost." Microhook, would you have stayed? This event spread like wildfire, adding to the mansion's mystique. According to legend, she was even seen at Houghton Hall, the Walpole's ancestral home, centuries before. Years later, in 1835, during the Christmas holidays, Colonel Loftus became the next witness. He described a lady in a brown satin gown, pale face, hollow eye sockets, like a corpse. She glided slowly down the corridor, not touching the floor, and vanished into the wall. Loftus was in shock. This is not a hallucination. His account only strengthened the estate's reputation as a cursed place. When I visited Norfolk, Locals told me that stories like this are part of everyday life there, as common as morning tea.
But the most dramatic encounter was with Captain Frederick Marryat. This brave man, a well-known writer and sailor, decided to confront the ghost himself. In 1836, he stayed at Rainham Hall, armed with a pistol, and lay in wait for the apparition at night. He saw her in a brown dress, holding a lantern, with a devilish grin on her face. Marryat fired. The bullet passed right through her and lodged in the door opposite. The ghost merely smirked and vanished. This isn't just a tall tale. The bullet was found embedded in the wood, and Marryat's story exploded in the press, cementing the Brown Lady as a legend.
Such accounts, from the king to the captain, gave rise to mystical interpretations. Could Dorothy be seeking revenge for her confinement? Paranormal investigators have tried to debunk it, but there's no evidence of fakery, only debate. Even today, in 2025, Rainham Hall attracts mystic tourists, though it remains private. The 1936 photograph showing a silhouette on the staircase resembling these descriptions only added fuel to the fire. If these stories gave you chills like they did me, hit the like button. Now, let's move to the climax. How was this legend captured on film in 1936? We'll break down the shoot and the investigation in the next segment.
We already know how the Brown Lady terrified kings and soldiers, from George IV to Frederick Marryat, whose bullet passed right through the ghost and lodged in a door. But in 1936, this Norfolk legend reached a whole new level. It was captured on film. Imagine September, Rainham Hall, the grand staircase shrouded in semi-darkness. Two photographers from Country Life magazine, Captain Hubert Provand and his assistant Indra Shira, had a simple assignment: photograph the estate's interiors. Nothing mystical, just work. But what happened changed history. Even now, looking at this shot, I get chills, as if she's staring at me across the decades.
So Provand adjusts the camera, fine-tuning the focus for another exposure. The light is soft, the staircase empty. Suddenly, Shira freezes. "Quick, quick, there's something here," he shouts, pointing to the stairs. He sees her, a ghostly, veiled figure of a woman in a brown dress, slowly descending, as if gliding. Provand, seeing nothing himself, trusts his partner and clicks the shutter. Hearts race. What did they capture? Microhook. What if this wasn't just a coincidence? They even made a bet. Shira insisted the ghost would appear on the film, while Provand, the skeptic, was sure the frame would be empty. Spoiler, Provand lost the bet.
When the film was developed, both froze in shock. The photo revealed a clear female silhouette, translucent, in a long brown dress, just like Dorothy Walpole's portrait in the estate. It was her, the Brown Lady, exactly as described by the king, Loftus, and Marryat. The photographers, scarcely believing their own eyes, realized this wasn't just a shot, it was a sensation. On December 16, 1936, Country Life published the image. The world erupted. Newspapers, debates, letters from readers. Some shouted hoax, while others cried proof of the afterlife. When I first saw this photo in an old magazine at my grandfather's, I couldn't look away. It was like peering into another world. Experts rushed to examine the photo. They spent hours scrutinizing the film, searching for signs of manipulation, double exposure, or forgery. Nothing. No evidence of fakery. Specialists at the time declared, if it's a hoax, it's a brilliant one. Paranormal researchers still debated, but the fact remains the image is clean. Rainham Hall, already drawing mystics, became a mecca for ghost hunters. Even in 2025, tourists visit hoping to catch a glimpse of her shadow. I went there myself. The silence in the hall is so heavy, it feels as if she could descend that very staircase at any moment. Comment below, do you believe this was Dorothy Walpole? But what if someone did manipulate the shot? Or is it real evidence of a ghost? In the next segment, we'll examine the theories and the clues. Don't go anywhere.
So here we are at the climax. The 1936 photograph where Captain Hubert Provand and Indra Shira captured the ghostly silhouette of the Brown Lady on the staircase of Rainham Hall. Published in Country Life on December 16th, it shocked the world, and even today, in 2025, it remains one of the most famous ghost photographs in history. But what was it really? The spirit of Lady Dorothy Walpole, whose tragedy began in 1726, or a clever hoax? When I first studied this image, I spent hours debating with friends, truth or trickery. Let's dive into what the experts discovered and why the mystery still endures.
Immediately after its publication, the photograph came under intense scrutiny. Experts of the time, armed with magnifying glasses and the latest technology, examined the film inside and out. Signs of manipulation? None. Double exposure? Not detected. Chemical tampering? Also nothing. Specialists concluded, if it's a forgery, it's brilliant, because there's no evidence of fakery. Imagine this. In 1936, with no Photoshop, creating such an image would require true mastery. Microhook. What if Shira and Provand really saw something otherworldly? After all, Shira shouted, "Quick, quick, there's something here," upon seeing the figure in the brown dress descending the staircase, and Provand, seeing nothing himself, still took the shot and lost the bet that the ghost would appear. Skeptics, of course, weren't idle. One theory suggested that someone could have stepped onto the staircase at the right moment, creating the ghost. But how to explain that Provand saw nothing and the figure appeared semi-transparent, just like Dorothy's portrait in the estate? Others claimed it was a random film defect, but experts dismissed this. The silhouette was far too sharp. Paranormal researchers, on the other hand, rejoiced. To them, it was proof of the afterlife, linked to the legend of Dorothy, who, according to rumor, was locked away in Rainham Hall after accusations of infidelity. Her spirit, full of pain, had been seen before, from King George IV, who fled the estate, to Marriott, whose bullet passed right through the ghost. Microhook? Could this be her revenge captured on film?
But the debates never cease. Paranormal hunters have combed Rainham Hall for decades, even Houghton Hall, where she was supposedly seen centuries before. Evidence of the ghost's reality? Zero. Yet no one has been able to disprove the photograph. The legend of the Brown Lady has long been woven into Norfolk folklore, and Rainham Hall has become a mecca for mystic tourists. I myself, standing there, felt as if she were nearby, in the shadows, in the creak of the floor. This photograph is like a mirror. Some see a spirit, others a trick, but no one knows the truth. So what if we try to uncover the secret of the Brown Lady ourselves? In the next segment, I'll explain how this story lives on today and why it still captivates millions.
We've traced the journey from Dorothy Walpole's tragedy, locked away in Rainham Hall in 1726, to the 1936 photograph in which Hubert Provand and Indra Shira captured her ghostly silhouette. Experts found no evidence of forgery, yet debates continue. Was it real or a clever hoax? Today, in 2025, the Brown Lady is more than a legend. She has become a cultural phenomenon, inspiring books, films, and crowds of tourists traveling to Norfolk, hoping to catch a glimpse of her shadow. I myself, standing in Rainham Hall, felt the story come alive, as if Dorothy still lingered there, in the shadows of the ancient walls.
The photograph, published in Country Life on December 16, 1936,
ranks among the most famous ghost images ever captured. It has inspired documentaries, episodes of paranormal shows, and even novels where characters seek the truth about the lady in the brown dress, exactly like Dorothy's portrait in the estate. Microhook. What if her spirit truly remains trapped within these walls? The legend, beginning with tales of King George IV fleeing the estate and Marriott, whose bullet passed right through the ghost, became a part of Norfolk folklore. It was discussed at family dinners, passed down through generations, and even rumors of her appearance at Houghton Hall added to the mystique.
Today, Rain Hall is a magnet for paranormal enthusiasts. Tourists wander through the halls hoping to hear footsteps or catch a glimpse of a silhouette on that very staircase. Modern witnesses share stories. Some have seen a shadow in a window. Others felt a chill in an empty corridor. One guy told me how, in 2023, a group of tourists swore they saw a female figure in brown vanish around a corner. Truth or imagination? No one knows. But these accounts keep the legend alive. Microhook. Imagine standing there at night. Would you dare?
The influence of the Brown Lady goes beyond mere mystique. She is a symbol of the enigma that makes us question, is there life after death? Could Dorothy's pain, trapped due to rumors of infidelity, keep her spirit tethered to this world? This story never loses its allure because it's about us, our fear, our curiosity, and our desire to peer beyond the veil. Every time I look at that photograph, I see not just a ghost, but the echo of a woman whose fate touches the heart.
The soft glow of a lamp in Raynham Hall, shadows on the staircase, and there she is, the Brown Lady, slowly descending, her dress rustling, her eyes staring through time. This image has etched itself into the memory of millions from 1936 to today. If this story captivated you, like the video and comment. Would you visit Raynham Hall for your own ghostly encounter? Subscribe so you don't miss new mysteries, and in the next video, we'll unravel another chilling enigma.